In this video, I will be bringing forth some new information that will alter the power scaling of the original Showa and Heisei era Godzillas. This isn't an unusual thing to happen in the power scaling community. After all, I still remember when the Versus Wiki had the Monsterverse Godzilla at only large island level, and the Showa Godzilla at only country level. So jumping right in, let's start with the original OG Godzilla. So, in my original How Strong is the Original Godzilla video, I brought up multiple points on how Godzilla likely survived the Castle Bravo bomb testing from the 1950s. On top of that, it's literally mentioned in the original Godzilla movie itself that Godzilla was likely awakened by the 1950s bomb testing, seeing as how Godzilla emerged the same year that the Castle Bravo bomb testings were occurring. And it wasn't just the Castle Bravo bomb too. There were other hydrogen bombs being tested as well. The thing is, they were all hydrogen bombs, which average in the megatons, which is city level, or small city level if you really lowball it. Where I'm going with this is, despite all this evidence that Godzilla likely survived a hydrogen bomb, I only put him at town level in terms of physical durability, when he should really be at the bare minimum small city level. The thing is, we don't know how close to the blast he was. However, as mentioned in that original video, a piece of artwork done by someone heavily involved in the creation of the original Godzilla movie shows Godzilla and the rest of his family being burned by the hydrogen bomb fallout explosion, so I'd say they were close enough to get the brunt of the blast. On top of that, it is mentioned in additional sources that Godzilla not only survived the hydrogen bomb, obviously, but absorbed the energy from it and became stronger, and other sources basically confirming that he would now be immune to said bomb. According to another outside source, Godzilla's tail can destroy mountains, which is at the bare minimum small city level, because there's like different ways of destroying a mountain, and apparently destroying a mountain is only small city level, depending on the level of destruction that is. This also seems to be the same level of destruction as volcanic explosions, which is what Godzilla's atomic breath was compared to when referring to his destruction of the ship earlier in the movie. So it sounds like Godzilla should at the bare minimum be physically small city level, if not outright regular city level. However, since the making of this video, I have come across more expert calculations on this ship destruction feat. Stuff to do with, like, say, boiling part of the ocean, the temperatures of Japanese waters, and the size of the ship itself in question. New calculations have calculated the destruction of this vessel from Godzilla's atomic breath to basically be 600 megatons to 11 gigatons of TNT, which would roughly be mountain to island level. The Versus Wiki has its own version of this calculated feat, and they somehow got to 48 teratons of TNT, which is country level. So Godzilla's atomic breath could be anywhere from mountain level to island level to even country level. It's imperative that we don't 100% believe all the different pieces of evidence presented by the Versus Wiki itself, since these guys don't seem to think that the Mario characters are at least star level due to Bowser surviving a black hole at the end of Super Mario Galaxy, and they still believe in the whole two Showa King Ghidorah's idea, so I wouldn't 100% trust every piece of evidence they bring forward. The final piece of information I want to bring up concerning the original Godzilla is the Oxygen Destroyer, a weapon that bypasses conventional durability and destroys atoms on a subatomic level. The original Godzilla wasn't killed by this weapon right away. See, he was able to endure it for 2 minutes before it finally killed him. The Oxygen Destroyer's energy has been calculated to be anywhere from 9.5 to 13 exatons of TNT, which is actually multi-continent level. That's how much energy it would take to do that. So there's some highball evidence that the original Godzilla could theoretically be multi-continent level, because he was able to survive a multi-continent level attack for 2 minutes before it finally destroyed him. Not sure if I fully go along with that logic, since for all we know, it could just simply take that long for the Oxygen Destroyer to take full effect. It doesn't start off right away when it starts up. After all, the human character who activates it, Dr. Sarazano, doesn't die immediately upon activating it, so I think it might just simply have a slow startup period. Since Godzilla should be somewhat relative to the power of his own atomic breath, I'm gonna actually upgrade the original Godzilla to at least City Plus level to possibly Mountain level, with both his physical power and atomic breath, with the country and multi-continental feats being viewed as a highball estimate. I'd say based off the power level feats that I've covered in my Power Levels Explained video, this basically brings Godzilla's power level to possibly roughly 400 to 500, with his atomic breath not far off from reaching 1,000. And because the Showa Godzilla is confirmed to scale above the original Godzilla, when we make original Godzilla stronger, we have to give the same boost and increase to the Showa Godzilla as well. And I finally found a source actually confirming Showa is stronger than original. The Super Diorama Theater Godzilla's Counterattack Godzilla. Now, there's a guidebook statement basically saying that the Showa King Ghidorah is unrivaled in space, meaning that he's basically the strongest in the universe. And apparently some people like to interpret that as him being stronger than inanimate objects, like the trash compactor from the one episode of Zone Fighter, I believe it's the one with Gigan in it, that is 10,000 times Zone Fighter's power, or some supermassive black hole that's like in the center of the universe or something like that, which would basically be about solar system level in terms of destruction. I think some power scalers are maybe taking that statement a bit too literally. I think it's basically meant to say he's the strongest monster in the Showa universe. Not that he's stronger than like inanimate objects like a trash compactor or a literal black hole. By that logic, King Ghidorah should be stronger than the universe itself because the universe is a thing. If we're counting inanimate objects like a trash compactor and a giant black hole, then we might as well count the universe itself. Another interesting piece of information is that apparently, according to this one guidebook statement, specifically the 1964 movie guide, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, page 1, sounds pretty official if you ask me, that when King Ghidorah was born, he was born from a planetary explosion. That's right, if this is to be believed as fact, then the Showa King Ghidorah was literally birthed from an exploding planet. So this thing's already tanking planets exploding as a baby, which definitely means that King Ghidorah in his first movie appearance should be far above planet level. I said in my Showa Part 1 video that the Showa King Ghidorah should be at the bare minimum planet level, since there are numerous statements confirming from both the movie and outside movie sources that King Ghidorah would be able to destroy the Earth. However, as mentioned before in Part 3 of the Showa Godzilla power scaling, King Ghidorah should scale above the Garoga aliens' nukes, which have now been calculated to be about 127.8 quitatons of TNT, which is small star level, but I found an alternate calculation putting them at 3.29 kilotons to 6.26 foe, which is large star level. Well, which is it? Small star level or large star level? If this is basically power scaling all the monsters during the Zone Fighter era to already be at large star level, then I can see why the Versus Wiki by the end of the Showa era would put all the monsters around solar system level. I'm still gonna have them be around large star level, because like I said, this piece of information on the Versus Wiki can't seem to decide if they're actually small star level plus or large star level. But I will upgrade them to being a little closer to reaching that solar system level, and just have Godzilla's power near the end of the Showa era be in the billions. points. I'm not going to bother showing the changes to all the Showa Godzilla power levels that I've covered throughout those 4 original videos here, but I will in a future video, so stay tuned for that. I will be using these planned updated power levels in that future video. Our last topic will of course be about the Heisei Godzilla. So, as brought up in my Heisei Part 2 video, Space Godzilla was created from a black hole that had some Godzilla cells get inside of it. How many of these cells got inside that black hole that made up Space Godzilla? It's not entirely clear. However, seeing as how these cells most likely came from Biolate, as it's one of the 2 proposed theories for how the Godzilla DNA got into the black hole to begin with, this means that just the cells of Godzilla are already star level in terms of durability, as far back as the 80s era of the Heisei Godzilla, and the cells should be far weaker than the body as a whole that it comes from. So there's different ways to tackle this approach. I lowballed it as much as possible and said that Godzilla as of the 84 film was the bare minimum for being star level, which is 136 kilotons. What you're seeing on the screen is basically how strong he would get with all the different power-ups that he gets throughout the movies. Say, getting at least 1.5 times stronger during the 84 movie due to feasting on both a nuclear power plant and 2 nuclear submarines. Him getting 2 times stronger in the gap between the 84 movie and the 89 movie, based off the improvement in durability between the Super X and the Super X2. The, of course, Godzilla getting 200 times stronger, which grows him from 80 meters to 100 meters, and why I fully believe that statement, because Godzilla gets a bunch of other power-ups in later movies and they don't increase his height either, so getting 200 times stronger would be sufficient to actually change his height. And then of course my power scaling calculations for how strong Burning Godzilla got before the time of his death, as well as the power of his meltdown explosion. This results in Godzilla at the time of his death reaching the megaphos of energy, with his meltdown explosion being just over 1 gigapho of energy, which is in the high tier of solar system level. The Versus Wiki has their own calculation for how strong Godzilla got after his 200 times boost in energy, which grew him to 100 meters, and they basically think at this point he's 13.79 kilophos of energy. So, starting off with that number for how strong Godzilla was at the time of his fight against King Ghidorah in that movie, using the same power scale calculations, this version of Heisei Godzilla ends with about 1 to 2.5 gigaphos of energy, with his meltdown explosion reaching 275 gigaphos of energy, which is just knocking on the door to reaching multi-solar system level. Taking another look at the cell approach, this one evidence I found from fellow Godzilla YouTuber Goji Chronic basically states that the cells survive a Type 1 supernova, which is equal to 1 pho times 8, which would be 8 phos. I don't know how you can tell how powerful the black hole that created Space Godzilla was when all we see of it is a virtual simulation. We never actually see or get any idea of how big the black hole itself was, just that it was a black hole. But using cell count logic, which they get from using a giant whale's sound count logic, and since we know the official height and weight of Space Godzilla, it was calculated that Space Godzilla should be composed of 400 quadrillion cells. One version of this calculation puts Space Godzilla at 3.2 exaphos, which is multi-solar system level. An alternative way of looking at it is, well, I don't even know what these are, and why the heck did they use joules instead of like exaphos of energy, but I'm going to show the math on screen now because this is the kind of math that they used, and this version uses 7 supernovas instead of the previous calculation's 8. So, again, a little inconsistency here, but this alternative cell count, when in comparison to the apparent power of the black hole that Space Godzilla came out of, calculated Space Godzilla to be multi-solar system to galaxy level, with his flight form officially reaching the galaxy level. I'm guessing this is based off the difference in weight between Space Godzilla's normal land form and his flying form, which I did consider that the flight form could be multiple times Godzilla's combat form power, but I thought it was smart to play it safe and just simply say it's at least 2 times the power of his land form. But as I mentioned before, we don't know how much of Godzilla's cells went on to create Space Godzilla. We know it is very likely that at least Biolate contributed to Space Godzilla's creation, given that they both have similar physical traits, like having the mandibles, the big red spot on their chests, and some form of geokinesis. Of course, it's equally possible that the other theory that the Godzilla cells came from Mothra from the vs. Mothra movie could also be true. And as we all know, that version of Godzilla's cells should be at least 200 times stronger than the Godzilla Biolate cells. Though I can't imagine it would have been much Godzilla cells, seeing as how the only time Mothra touched Godzilla in that entire movie was when she was carrying him out to the ocean. Can't imagine much cells would have gotten on her feet at that point. But there you go, some more evidence potentially putting Heisei Godzilla at multi-solar system to even galaxy level. But I'm still gonna stick with my original conclusion that he's solar system level plus. Possibly not far off from reaching multi-solar system level, but like I said, not enough concrete evidence to get him there. My own calculations using some prior found evidence still put him below multi-solar system level, but also, to be fair, I could just be lowballing how strong Godzilla gets with each power-up. It's possible that Godzilla's burning form gave him a much stronger power increase than I thought. Like I said, though, he should have gotten the same power-up as his son, which made him grow about 10 meters, which means he should have gotten 100 times stronger, and since Godzilla was exposed to the same island explosion that made him enter his burning form, he should also be at the bare minimum 100 times stronger. Then he gets a roughly 2.5 power increase during the fight against Destroya, so that would be overall a 250 times increase, which would be overall the strongest power-up he gets when compared to his original 100-meter height increase, which was a 200 times boost. So of course, Godzilla's burning form power-up would be the strongest power-up he gets in the entire Heisei era. I might just simply disagree with other power scalers on when he gets the full power-up, as his power changes throughout the entire movie. As mentioned before, I'll show the full changed power levels for the entire Heisei era in a future video. So in conclusion, the OG Godzilla gets upgraded from town to city level to city to mountain level plus. Showa Godzilla still remains at large star level, but maybe putting him a little closer to reaching that solar system level, mostly due to the increase in power to original Godzilla. And Heisei Godzilla, as a result of both the Showa increase as well as some new calculation evidence, is still at solar system level, but is maybe a bit closer to definitely being at least multi-solar system level. If we're going off of power level logic though, he's probably maybe galaxy to universe level. Again, going off the power level numbers, but if we're going off like the actual energy calculations, I'd say he's still, for the most part, solar system level plus, with enough evidence putting him maybe at least at multi-solar system level. But like I said, I'm gonna play it safe for now, because there's still plenty of calculations only putting him at solar system level. Definitely be higher tier solar system level, but still not quite reaching that multi-solar system level yet. And that's important, as the next Godzilla video I'll be covering will be about the Godzilla Kodansha manga, which is basically an alternate universe timeline for the Heisei era Godzilla. I hope you all enjoyed this little update to my previously covered movie Godzillas. Stay tuned for the Kodansha manga Godzilla video.